And we are moving forward right now. Again, I'm really happy again to have Eamon and Mattia. I really hope that Mattia also, yeah, he's here and
Hi.
we're ready actually to proceed our Q&A. As far as, by the way, before I also want to say thank you for your support, for your nice feedback, and really I can see that like our developers who are watching us right now, they are very excited as well to see one of the youngest talents in this field. So, Eamon and Mattia, before we'll go into more technical thing, it's really interesting how, for your perspective, how do you see when somebody of such a young age is already starting to code and learning like Python in detail, and also from your perspective, like how was it for you? When did you start, and how was it like at your age?
Madhya, maybe you want to go first?
Well, I was trying to recall because I'm a little bit older, so a little bit more time has passed. I think I was about 6 or 7, but I
Real as
believe,
well.
yeah, I mean, yes, but I believe that now you can get a little bit more help from the internet. You have easier access to resources than back in the days, I have to say. That's probably a little bit more exciting for kids. When I was writing my first programs, I had to save them on cassettes, and it was just less visual, less interactive. So now I think it's easier. I have a son who's 8, who's also programming in Scratch, and you'll be surprised with by the number of resources that you're able. I hear a lot of echo, by the way, but yeah, I totally agree with Kautilya's father that there are a lot of resources online. So if a kid is interested, he has a lot of inputs and ways to fill his curiosity.
Also, Mattia, taking into account your son's interest into this, like how is it like how does it? And by the way, as well from my perspective, it's really awesome they also started so early. But nevertheless, as you mentioned, right now it's easier because there are more information available online on the internet. But as well, what are like the main challenges and at the same time the greatest benefits if you start early learning computing? A program, I mean coding.
I am not sure. I am not an expert because I have also worked with software engineers that started really late. So they sort of like figured out they would have been interested in computing in their later 20s, but they managed to develop and become really strong developers. So I'm not sure.
Okay, Eamon, what's your views? Should every like future programmer began early, or it's like it's never too late? I think the lesser is also true, but at the end of the day, how early should you start?
Yeah, well, I was actually reading, and this is again, I'm not expert like Matthias said, and nobody is an expert. You explore the world, and then you see that what career you want to be. But I was reading this book called Psychology of Money, and I realized this thing that when we are younger, I wanted to be a truck driver, because
Truck driver.
my world was when I was 5 year old. So my world was surrounded with Bob the Builder, all these cartoons, and that's how we actually formulate what kind of job we want to end up to. We used to see doctors, so that's what we wanted to be. But as slowly, we move further and see more of the world. Like I got to know about computers in my second grade when I was in my school, and then I used to
Second
skip.
grade.
Yeah, it's like 6 7 years old only when I used to skip summer holidays, go to school even in the holidays, so they can get access to computer. And it wasn't until my graduation from high school I got my own personal computer. Till that time I used to get hands on other machines as well. I'm just 22 right now, by the way, also. But the thing is that what I have realized that the more you explore the world, the more kind of things that you get yourself into, that's where you decide what you want to be. So for people worrying that what I'm doing with my life, it's totally fine. Some people realize it at very early stage, like Kautilya, or some people even realize at 40. So as a quote from Naval Ravikant, everybody has two lives, and the second one starts when he realizes he has only one. So that's a very important thing. And
Nicely said.
yeah, most of the people who want to be passionate programmers start at a very early age. But what unique about Kautilya is that he can come in front and discuss with us. He has the confidence, and his family also supports. So it also, like, because most of the time in tech, people are talking about, geek stuff, like how to do this. So having a personality like Kautilya, like, brings joy and more youngness to the field, and everybody is like, okay, let's see it from a new angle. So I think that's the view to see it.
Thank you so much. Right now, let's go more into technical questions. I'm sure that our audience would like to know more, but I believe that this is also a really nice intro, like to know about your experience, because this is like what actually helps you to get to the level, get to the point where are you right now. So here are also the questions. As I told you, we have some from our team. We also have questions from our audience. Like really quick recap for all of you who are watching us right now. Right now, as we mentioned, we are going first of all again to give prizes for the best questions to our, like, as tickets for our next events as well. There will be 5 winners, and also you have a possibility to win one of the languages on data science and machine learning from PACT, our media partner. So please stay tuned, as they say, prepare your questions. Right now, we'll start from our first question. And please, I would like to ask you, these are like questions, whenever who would like to jump in, just let me know. But we'll start from the first one, which is, what is the most important Python framework to focus on? And who'd like to start? Just you may start. I will not be pressing anyone like of you that you need to answer this or the other question. Who'd like to start on this?
I mean, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, please. I was actually suggesting to have Kautilya answer this question because he comes with the most unique mindset, and he actually mentioned in his presentation also what are the most important frameworks like Pandas, NumPy. So maybe Kautilya, if you could.
Wait. So I think it might be if you are young like me, Tkinter, because of its graphics, and Turtle is also good, but I prefer Tkinter more.
Thank you. Who would like to proceed, maybe, in this case?
Well, on my side, I really have a non-dogmatic approach, and I think that it really depends what you're trying to solve, the problem. So, and I also think that things are a lot more interesting when you start from your goal, and then you reverse engineer a solution. So I don't really have an answer. I think it really depends on the problem.
Okay, but let's talk about like your subjective problems, the one you should have like solved in the past from your experience. So in this case, probably everything will be based on your personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start with the working with data, maybe some data wrangling would not hurt. So looking at pandas and being able to write idiomatic code, that is quite important. Then when you dive into algorithms, I am quite a fan of writing plain Python. So you understand things, and then you start, let's say, also using something like NumPy or TensorFlow or PyTorch for the implementation of the algorithms. I have always liked to build the algorithm, to build things from scratch, to really understand how they work. So this is my recommendation. If you like.
Thank you so much. What would be your Aman's recommendations?
Yeah, again, as Matthias said, it totally depends upon, like, I have never found a Swiss Army knife in Python. So everything has pros and cons, depend totally on the use case. So if it's more about like you want to build an application suite, so like for example, like a backend. So I started with Flask, but recently I observed that people tend to use fast API, and that's also good. And then if you are building applications, then Django might be the one that you are trying to build with with Python. And for like machine learning or data, like only machine learning you can have to do with PyTorch or TensorFlow. So totally depends upon the unique case. There is no one better framework over another. It's more your comfortness and about the use case and how much documentation is available with it. I've seen people using just freshly baked 2 months old frameworks, and they get to solutions very easily to it. And it totally depends upon how much they are ready to explore that particular framework and go into it. And if you're just starting up, as Matthias said, the best way to do it is use as much Scratch as possible so that you understand the crux and the lower level Python API as much as possible. And then to make things optimized and make your code base smaller, then you attach more frameworks to it.
Okay, thank you. Not to make here kind of competition between still programming languages, but still, why do you think that right now, so far, Python is much more like even maybe the best choice for data science as a programming language? Again, not to offend any other languages, but as far as I know, like from my perspective, this is like even sometimes it's better than R and Java. For data science specifically.
Shall I go with this one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, again, I think there is a simple paradox in this. Like, you can pick up the best programming language and you can write the crappiest code, or you can pick up the crappiest language and you can write the best code. So, which one you want to be? So, it's again, it was put up in the last Geekle session also. And I see that people tend to ask polarized question from the speakers so that we make a judgment. But yeah, I always go in confidence with, yeah, Python is great just because I think it's about the community. It applies to almost all levels of ages, from like pre-high school, for example. Kautilya is like doing it, and even my high school has started to shift from C++ to Python. So it's direct maths, so that what makes it readable. It's directly documented in a way when you write it as soon as possible. So that's the second advantage. Plus, it has diverse, interportability with different kind of system. Like you can write embedded code, web programs. You can write, native programs with Tkinter, or it's just that vast field. So you're just learning one language, and then it just applies and snaps to each other different scenarios. And the other advantage is the community and the availability of different libraries and frameworks, as said before. So you can begin with the Scratch code, and you will start observing that there is something made for each unique application on Python. So I think that's what makes it great.
Thank you. Mattia, would you like to add something?
Well, from my perspective, I think Python is good because of its ecosystem. I don't think that other languages per se are necessarily worse than Python. Perhaps Python makes finding things a little bit easier because you have such a large ecosystem, so you don't need to implement a lot of things by hand yourself. Personally, if you talk about programming language design, I'm not a huge fan of Python. I'm also personally having a stronger preference for strongly typed languages and languages that are more functional with Python. but that's just a matter of taste. I think that one of the biggest limitations of Python that is going to affect the language in the future, and perhaps are going to boost other alternatives, is the fact that Python per se remains a glue language. So you have Python stack over some C++, C, maybe Fortran stuff, and you're not able to go within the same language from higher level abstractions down to assembly level granularity. But yeah, I mean, once you have so much available from the ecosystem, everything else, I guess, it's perhaps a secondary.
I see. Thank you. Kautilya, if you will have something to add, if you want to add, please let me know. And in that case, we also proceed.
I think Python is a good language because it's so easy to learn and that's all.
Okay, thank you. We're moving forward. One of our next questions, please tell us what are the differences between, like, again, this is a bit like to the topic which we started at the beginning, but what are right now the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? Of course, a lot of data right now, especially with the circumstances taken over like the last year, all of the data is available. But at the same time, how much do you still need a teacher here, or is it like easy right now for like talented like a programmer to learn all by himself, and in this case be even more professional, or not?
Is this question about like machine learning, supervised and unsupervised learning, or?
Yes.
Okay, Matthew, you want to go with this?
Look, I think we are talking about very, very, very different problems. I mean, the supervised, you have the labels. Unsupervised, you don't have the labels. But the problems you're trying to solve are dramatically different. So there was this tale of sort of like, what should you learn, right, from the way you have formulated it, and the answer is we're talking about different problems, so you have to understand what you have at hand and the problem you try to solve, and then you have to figure out the right methodological approach. And even within, for example, supervised, you can go from simpler OLS regressions down to the most complex deep learning architectures. I'm not sure if this answers the question because it's very broad, I would say. Aman, can you add something more specific?
Yeah, I would just go with the like technical understanding of what supervised and unsupervised learning is. Like that would build up the context. So basically, like when you have training data set available and you are trying to judge the machine learning model based on the training data set accuracy, it's more sort of supervised learning, and you know which peak point you want to reach to in order to have the optimized path. So it is often like Andrew has explained in his deep learning course that, for example, if you are blindfolded and you are trying to reach onto the mountain, so you're hitting the ground, stamping the ground, and trying to understand which one is the highest point. And then as soon as you hit the down point, you go back. So in that sense, you know where the highest point is. That is in a sense, in nature way of example or explaining what a supervised learning is. But in a case where you can't explain, basically this is the gradient descent where you're trying to explain what is the least cost function to achieve to a point. But in a sense where you don't know where that top level achievable thing is, but you are still trying to make best out of this, it is more unsupervised learning. So again, it totally, the application side depends upon where you are trying to apply it. It's really vast. If it's computer vision, it's totally different. In natural language processing, it's totally different. You are doing probabilistic determination things, it's totally different. So like, but this is the technical differences between it.
Thank you. Next question, please differentiate between univariate, bivariate, and multivariate analysis.
The difference between univariate and bivariate is that univariate is an analysis done with one variable, and bivariate is an analysis done with two variables, and multivariate is an analysis done with more than one variable.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kautilya. By the way, I'm really enjoying how you're actually are also explaining this. I think that in the future you'll be also not only like able to know, but you also be able like to learn to teach other people. That's for sure. We're going forward. Please tell us, how do you build a random forest model?
You want the easy answer or the difficult answer?
It's up to you. In this case, I'm not making like anyone, but if, for example, what is your best answer?
Well, my best answer is you can go down the route of you open a Python cookbook and you write 3 lines of code, and then you think you built a random forest. Or the other one is you open up the book and you read carefully and you try to understand the math behind, and you're gonna probably waste maybe a month of these, maybe a couple of days, depending on your background in math. And then you park all this knowledge and you go back to the 3 lines of Python. And you wonder whether it was worth or not to understand how the whole thing works.
Thank you. Amanda, I see that you wanted to add something, if I'm not mistaken.
I was actually going to go with the same answer as Matthew.
It's a very interesting question, but
Okay, thank you. Next question, and this is like probably, I think for you also to think and share. Will artificial intelligence lead the economic sector in all of the countries in the future?
What do you mean by leading? In the sense of it's going to be a key, whether it's going to be or not a key competitive advantage?
Because in terms like, for example, this is not about like, of course, the whole economy, but just in case, quick example with trading, what's going on right now, like AI trading proves itself to be more effective because it's not emotional, like with the human trading. Can you actually also see that it may influence the economic sector in general, and it will be in this case more beneficial, like more efficient in the future?
I would say that many companies are leveraging artificial intelligence to gain a competitive advantage. A clear competitive advantage is through automation. So you look at what companies are doing, and you figure out manual, boring tasks, and you have some AI doing the boring manual tasks for you. The other thing is that artificial intelligence is enabling you to achieve almost infinite scalability in what you're doing. So you can design new products or services, or let's say innovate more and make easier to access existing services, make it, for example, from insurance claim to banking, to portfolio management, to for example, getting access to a tool that recommends you what to buy online without you wasting a lot of time figuring out whether you should have a green or a blue t-shirt. So my answer is yes. Then there was, I think there was an element of the question around whether it's gonna be there's going to be a net loss in terms of jobs, employment, and I do believe that artificial intelligence is can create new jobs that are going to be replacing the old manual activities. The challenge is making sure that people have access to the right tools to reskill themselves and prepare themselves to what's going to happen next. But I think what we were discussing also before, online you find a lot of resources. So with the right mindset, being open-minded, you can reskill a lot of your workforce.
Aman, would you like to add here? What's your views on this?
Well, this is like classic humanity's 20-year cycle, when the factories were replaced by robots, and then at some point diesel engines were replacing uh, steam engines. Now is the time like people are thinking that AI will be replacing and leading the economies in that section or not. So, but it's for the first time that what is different from the last times is that for the first time white collar people are also getting affected for this, and that's why the question is not just whether they'll be losing job, but also how the economy sector will be leading. And I think humanity is very good at trying different ways. And as Matthias said, when most of the white collar jobs are also handled by the AI, and then there would be some new set of job. People will be more finding time for leisure, more creative work, writing stories that I always wanted to do, or painting. So it would be more what you say, we will have abundance of database decisions rather than people politically arguing over how to lead the economy. So every bad decision will be based on some data, so there will be less chaos. What do you say? Yeah, so everything will be more predictable. People will have more comfortable lives in that case, I think. So in a way, yes, it will lead, but it's not happening, at least for the immediate future, but in the next 20 years for sure.
Do you think that in this case AI will create kind of more like possible passive ways of channels of passive income for people, as you mentioned, like to focus more on like creating something, like working in art maybe? Because like for example, right now a lot of people, they are a bit concerned that, for example, losing jobs right now will create that chaos on the country because AI will replace all of the, as you mentioned, white collar works, well, white collar jobs. And in that case, people will not like, they will be like, they won't have like incomes for existence. But other than that, can AI on the country like take care of this part, and you can focus really on something more creative in this case?
Yeah, I think the way, if this question is more about wealth flow, because if AI comes and then most of the wealth will be controlled by the companies who control the AI and who supply these services, and then what about the people who are like the underlying benefactor of these jobs when AI was not there? So if the concern is that, then it's simply when more decisions are being taken on the AI level, I guess. So the wealth automatically flows. If it's if the wealth is a factor, not the money, but the wealth is a factor that flows automatically towards everybody, right? So if the automation came, so the person who used to do work on a factory line, his next generation is now more self-trained and they are learning computer science. So I don't know what's the next big thing is, but when people, even the jobs that AI can handle, when people will be leaving those jobs, they'll be finding themselves into a much more creative ways. So humans are very good at focusing their attention to some other problems every time. It's just a matter of time, and when that happens, the wealth will automatically flow from there to those jobs. So I think we just need to wait and watch. This problem kind of solves everything. The humanity's underlying principle of solving problems and creating abandonment for everybody is just happens on its way. I don't know, if I don't want to make this conversation more philosophical, because this is more of Python, ML, and AI conference.
Yeah, but at the same time, like Okay, yeah, don't go into like these future views, but honestly, very often from your perspective, when you're like learning a lot about technologies, it's really interesting to see how can we predict, because like very different views on this. But at the end of the day, there'll be like some like similar, which can actually see where the tendency goes in this case. Can you, in that case, right now, let's discuss one of my favorites, to be honest, especially when we're talking about machine learning. So which kind of tools for machine learning can actually identify fake news already? And will they, in this case, become like even more elaborate in the future? Kautilya, if you like to add something,
because this part I understood what, please do.
For machine learning, so fake news actually has some different features to real news. So machine learning so that proves that machine learning tools can identify, but how can the machine learning will look for features that only fake news has, not real news, and actually might identify some real news as fake news or fake news as real news, but that's only a little if you give it enough data. So I think that's how.
Thank you. Aman or Mattia, what you would like to add here?
Well, on my side, I am really skeptical. So you can apply different methodologies. Maybe you can weed out obvious fakes, but I think that let's say removing identifying a fake news is a very complex problem with lots of nuisances. Now, I'm not really an expert, and it's really not my cup of tea. But I think the key challenge is about, and we were talking about data, so it's about making sure that there is enough professional validation of news reports or data that is presented by, for example, an agency. So I think that the real challenge is making sure that there's enough investigative work that can back up a piece of news, ensuring that what is reported is trustworthy, and that goes beyond right now applying some machine learning, trying to figure out whether something is fake or not. It's about the responsibility of professional journalists that need to go there and make sure that everything is in place. Because otherwise, I'm really skeptical of garbage in, garbage out.
That's true, but at the same time, Mattia, you're saying I agree that in this case, probably journalists have to delve deeper. But what to do, even for example, if the even news maker right now, with the help of AI, can like based on like your appearance, can create like news anchor. So for this, you don't need a journalist anymore. It's just like that.
Sorry, you're talking about something like deep fakes.
Yes, this also taken into account. But what I'm trying to say in this, I want to understand how actually, because this is again a topic and a question which how can actually it identify fake news, to be honest, because based on which and how can actually be developed on such level that it can like really, how can the machine like like identify that this is true or not true. Just really simple example. I won't go into like the topic of blockchain, but for example, they say in supply chain it's used. But at the same time, if you at the first place you insert there the wrong data, the blockchain will accept it as a true. So is it like the same with the news? If, for example, the machine learning for the first time some fake news by mistake accept it as the true one, and at the same time it later on will indicate that this is the truth.
Okay, you can try to trace where the news come from, and I think this is a clear, let's say, path to identify fake news. These the track and tracing. But when it comes to content, let's say, for example, there's always flying around on LinkedIn this image where they say that the strong wolves are behind in the raw wolves walking in the snow, and they make some very motivational lines about the strong that don't lead, but they let the weaker go first. And if you grew up in the Alps, you know very well that when the wolves walk, the first one is the snow piercer, the strongest is in the front, and they push down with their own things the snow, so that the wolves, which are weaker, can still, they don't have to progress in fresh snow. So how can a machine learning tool figure out these? No, you don't. What you need to have is somebody who goes and makes sure that the right documents and is explored. You gather evidence, and then you challenge whether the information, the news reported is all the information reported is correct or not. And this is about scientific method. This is not about applying a black box machine learning, whatever, to a bulk of data. And by the way, I'm not a wolves expert either, but I think I'm very confident in saying what I want to say about the wolves, and that was the only politically correct example that popped in my head right here, right now. So.
I see. Thank you. Next question, how is logistic regression done?
Well, I think we answered that as for the random forest or boosting trees. There's the option of the 3 lines of code, or the option of... I think I'm not a huge fan of of explaining things online, because number one, I'm really bad at explaining things. And now number two, I don't think it's, I think I would take probably 10, 15 minutes to give an answer which is satisfying. So.
Okay, my next question, which would be, which was discussed, I would like to bring another concept, which right now is really relevant, because when we're talking about big data, here, what is the difference again? Because a lot of people, I would like you to explain this from the professional point of view. Right now, a lot about this, people are talking about this, but what is the difference clear here in this case?
So
between
somebody
data
else, because I have a impression that I'm turning these in a monologue. So.
Well, you can go with it, but it's really simple. Like, data science is the big circle which involves like making decisions out of the data that you have available. And when you collect the data from multiple sources, use data warehousing techniques, data pre-processing, that kind of combine, and like basically big data, as the name describes, data which is huge, is big data, and then you try to make decisions out of it. Data science is the field to understand. Again, I think I'll agree with Mattia that maybe this won't be the right place for like explanation or definition kind of stuff. But still.
Okay, thank you. Mattia, would you like to add?
Well, I can add that there's still not a clear definition of what big data is. Data science is about all the tools, methodologies that are about dealing with data and producing insights. Big data generally refers to platforms that are allowing data scientists to crunch large amounts of data. Reality remains that what is big data? So I speak with many people, they all have big data, but data becomes big as soon as the tools you're having are not able to crunch it. So it's a very subjective, there's a very subjective point of view on big data.
Thank you so much. Our last question is right now as well from our chat. How to set up an environment to collaborate on the same data set, sorry. Does everyone work on different Jupyter notebook to then discuss and merge, or is there another tool to collaborate?
One of the tool that is on my list is called Data Load from JetBrains. So it kinds of helps you host Jupyter notebooks online. And in that case, then you can host machine learning models and the data set that you have also online. There was another tool from Google. I don't remember the name. Maybe Matthew, you would remember. It's like kind of
Colab or something.
Yeah, Google Colab. Yeah. So you have Data Load, which is more like professionally used, and Colab, which is like openly for educators and students.
Thank you so much, Mattia. Would you like to add something here?
No, but I would like to say that this is a very good question, and probably, let's say, working with data collaboratively, and making sure that this collaboration aspect is reflecting your data dev and MLOps is a very interesting topic. So +1 for the question, and maybe there's also presentation in this conference is gonna tackle this topic. If I remember correctly, it is also possible.
Okay, just in case, let me just recap. Well, was it like during our section?
Sorry, what did you say?
I mean, was it in our section, like the current one, or was it like you said it was covered?
I'm not sure. I don't recall.
Okay, just in case, we're honestly still have another speaker with whom we need to go further. But I want to say again, really grateful that you joined us today, Mattia, Aman, and Kautilya. It was really interesting, by the way, to listen still for different perspectives, with your different background and with your different age perspective as well. Because honestly, as I said, like I met before, very young, like developers, but I understand that you also like have such a huge history. Also, you're starting from 7, maybe a bit older years old. I understand that this is like really huge and really exciting. So for this, that's why we're also really grateful, our team of Geekle, that you join us today for our data science specific section within our Python Global Python Summit for ML and AI. Thank you. Give it up once again to Eamon, Mattia, and Kautilya. I'm Maria. We'll be back really soon with a short announcement, maybe just a message for our viewers so far at the end from each of you.
Thanks for having us, and I think this virtual conference has been a great idea in COVID to learn new things. And I was like just thinking. So I was just thinking that it has given us speakers also chance to creatively, experiment with more ideas on what sessions we can give. So everybody, kudos to everybody who joined today, and for the amazing questions, and for you, Maria, hosting us, like amazing host experience over here. So thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Keep on doing.
Thank you so much, Mattia.
Yeah, thanks a lot also from my side. It's very interesting. I also appreciate the fact that you managed to gather speakers and attendants from different industries, from different backgrounds, for also different, let's say age brackets. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.